The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show, episode 260, the last episode of 2024. Ryan, are you excited for New Year's Eve?
No, because I don't do anything. I just sit home and do nothing.
That seems to be the trend I'm finding this year with New Year's. Everyone I talk to, I'm like, what are you doing? Everyone's like, nothing.
Well,
like some people might be having some guests over or whatever, but the days of going out and standing in line somewhere to go into some packed establishment seem to be waning. But guess what? You'll go downtown on New Year's Eve and there'll be lines everywhere.
You know what? For the people who only know me as someone who talks about the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll let you in on a little secret about me. I fucking hate waiting in lines. When I see a line, I will find any despicable way to get in front of it, to butt in front of other people, to cut it, because I just can't wait in a line. I can't do it.
No,
can't do it.
It's awful. It's
can't wait in a line.
So we're ending 2024 on kind of a weird note with respect to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think the Anthony Stolarz injury really reared its ugly head on Saturday night against the Washington Capitals. And you sent me something last night, which basically contained the Leafs' goaltending stats since his injury. .869 save percentage.
Yeah, it's not very
good.
You're
not winning anything with an .869 save percentage. And I don't know, I don't want to contradict. We've had a long period of time between episodes here. Normally we would have had an episode in between, but it's the holidays, so give us a break. I don't want to contradict what I said last episode with respect to Matt Murray, where it's like, give the guy a chance. Like, he's got NHL pedigree. He's who they want, whatever. But I don't know, man. Like, you watch that game on Saturday night and you're like, listen, you take a look at the Atlantic Division. It's back to being what it always has been. Leafs and Panthers are tied at the top. Bruins 2 points behind them. Lightning 2 points behind them. And it's like, you can't afford to have too many goaltending performances like the one Matt Murray gave you on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that Matt Murray just needs to see as many pucks as possible because he looks a little bit behind NHL caliber shooting, NHL caliber passing. He just looks behind, and I'll cut him a break. He didn't play hockey for a very long time. He didn't get a very long stint in the A. And the A is also not the NHL, but the Leafs can't really afford to have a guy who's not NHL ready to be in their net right now. So I'll cut him. I'm not going to sit here and shit on Matt Murray. It's just the guy is just not. He just needs to see more pucks. He's just not ready. He's just not ready for what they need right now. So I think this morning they called up Hildeby and they set down Matt Murray.
But they've been doing that. They do that as like sort of cap manipulation. I think the intention is to still, like on game day, recall Matt Murray on games he's going to start.
Well, I would actually reconsider that possibly. I if I see one, even in the game in Buffalo, he didn't really play that well. Buffalo's just awful. But yeah, he just does not look like he's prepared to see NHL pucks.
Well, here's the thing that concerns me the most is this team has sort of gotten used to getting all-star goaltending so far this year. It's like kind of how they play. Like I talked a lot on our last episode about how I don't love the way they've been defensively. And immediately Chris Tanev goes out for one game and you see the massive, like when he comes back, he just makes such a difference. But that's kind of how this team has functioned so far this season, is getting all-star goaltending from Joe Woll as well. And so you're kind of putting Matt Murray in a tough spot where it's like, not only do you have to go in and play well, you got to go in and be lights out. You need to make, like, how many 10 bellers was Anthony Stolarz making a game? 2 to 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So it's concerning now because he's still out for several more weeks. They're in a tight race here. And it's they're in a pickle. They need Joe Wall to really, really, really take the ball here. The problem is they have so many back-to-backs that Murray's going to get in, but they're in a tough spot with this goaltending, man. And it's got me feeling nervous to start 2025. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you take a snapshot of the entire season, though, they've had to fight through a lot. They had to fight through a lot of different injuries, and I'm sure we'll get into the next important injury that they're fighting through as well. But they've really had to dig down and find different ways to be in the position where they're at. All things considered, the fact that they're tied with the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, it's been a successful season. But you look at the Bruins are pissing me off right now. You look at their record ever since they changed their coach, and it's driving me insane. It's like, how did these guys get back into this? Like, oh,
what did I say, Ryan? I said my days of writing them off and saying they're finished or over. I will never do it. I'll never do it.
No, you can't. It's really pissing me off watching them just continue to get 2 points, and just all of a sudden they're just back right there for the division. So it's. Even though they've had to fight through a lot, it's been a successful season. I think they've done extremely well with what they've had. You got to keep winning, though, because even the Ottawa Senators keep winning right now. So you got to find a guy who can stop pucks for you, and you got to keep finding ways to overcome guys who are going down in the lineup.
One thing that I wanted to bring up today is we were at a family event yesterday, and you said to me that Spencer Carberry took his knowledge from being behind the Leaf bench and applied it when playing them now as the head coach of the Washington Capitals. And I'd like you to elaborate on that for all the people listening and watching.
Pressure, 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 pressure. You can outwork these guys, especially when Auston Matthews is not on the ice and he's not at his best. If you're seeing a depleted core four, Spencer Carberry ran the power play for this hockey team. They were number one in the league when he was running their power play. You've seen other Leafs assistant coaches go to different spots around the league and not succeed at the level that he's succeeding right now. And I'm just watching him. It's like, this guy knows how to beat these guys better than anybody. He seems like a really sharp dude, and he has the Washington Capitals playing at a level that no one expected. So I'm just looking at him on the bench. I'm like, this guy knows exactly how to draw up a game plan to beat these guys. And it's just, you just got to relentlessly put pressure on them in the uncomfortable parts of the ice. I know Craig Berube is trying to
clog the middle.
Yeah, change a culture and do things different, but it's still the same horses running the race, and there is a book out there on how to shut these guys down. Even though I will say, Logan Thompson played out of his mind as well. Like, Nylander had a bunch of chances to score. They did have a couple chances to score. It's not like they were held off the score sheet, but if you're a team, if you just clog up that middle and keep that forecheck humming, which is the fucking ingredient to beat anybody in the NHL, quite frankly, but yeah, the Capitals do an incredible job of just keeping the pressure on them at all times and scoring at the opportune times. They look really good. I'm very surprised how good that team looks. They're a very good hockey team. Yeah,
that's also the MO to beat this team, is keeping them to the outside. That's always been the MO against these guys. Like, do not they desperately want to get to the middle of the ice. They don't like shooting from the perimeter. It's just not in their DNA to throw it on net and go in and bang in a rebound. That's not this team's DNA. So if you keep them to the outside, you're going to limit their quality chances, and you're going to have a higher chance to win.
And they just kept the puck in the O zone longer than the Leafs did. Like, it's just as simple as that. You just got to outwork them. If you just outwork them, you can see success against them, and that's what Carberry's doing with the Capitals.
Okay, you alluded to it earlier. Let's talk about it. Auston Matthews is still injured, and we are kind of... I'm not going to say I'm getting to the point of other people who are like upset about transparency with respect to the injury, but I am kind of like, what the... it's like every day, it's Berube coming out and being like, oh, he might be ready on Friday, and then he gets to Thursday and he's like, nope, he won't be ready. Oh, he might be ready on Tuesday, and then I'm sure today at some point they'll announce that he's not playing tomorrow. And I'm going to reiterate what I said on our last episode. Shut the guy down. It's over. Any sort of individual statistical goal he's had for this season is gone. This season is a write-off in that perspective for him. He's not winning the Rocket. He's not going to score 1 million goals. He's not going to have a record-setting season. He's had an injury-plagued year. It is what it is. It happens. But you cannot have him come back and be one cross-check to the back away from being out like this again. You absolutely need him come April, and fuck it. If the Tampa Bay Lightning did it with Kucherov, why can't we do it with Matthews? This team, when they play well and pay attention to their details, and Mitch Marner's cooking, and William Nylander's cooking, and John Tavares is cooking, is totally fine, totally formidable, and they can totally compete to win the Atlantic Division. So shut him down. Make sure he's completely healthy. Wait till after take his money, go and make a deal, bring somebody in here, and then after the trade deadline, when there's no salary cap in play, start him back up, or the playoffs, excuse me, when there's no salary cap in play, start him back up, and off you go. Just like enough.
Yeah, shutting him down is a weird concept to think about. I think if they are going to shut him down, which I don't think they are, but if they did, I think you have to reassess where you think this team's going to end up in the division. They will not win this division if he's not contributing in the lineup. I honestly don't think
they can win this division if they get the goaltending that they need.
But they don't. They won't. I promise you that if Auston Matthews is not contributing in the lineup at some point this season, and Anthony, they just all of a sudden Joe Wall starts playing like Anthony Stolarz did, they're not going to win this division. They're really not. It's been an extremely disappointing season from Auston Matthews' perspective. All the talk before the season being like, could he get to 70 again? And I was on here and I said, I promise you he won't even get, I'm pretty sure I said he won't even get to 50. That was one of my hot takes going into the season. And I was right. It's been extremely disappointing season for Auston Matthews. When he's been in the lineup, he hasn't been very good for his standards, and now it's just like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Well, he clearly came back and he wasn't 100%. Like, you can't go out there and take a cross check to the back or get laid out and then you're done. You're done again for over a week. It's like it's clearly an injury that it's going to take time to heal. That's the problem. And yes, you can go see a doctor in Germany and you can do all that, and I'm sure that helped, but it's going to take time for his body to heal, and that's why I'm like, just shut him down. Just do it. But they play this mental warfare and they play chess with that nobody's playing against them. Like, nobody cares. But the organization is so like cards to the vest and we don't want to reveal anything. And it's like, okay, whatever. I just think, okay, fine. Let's say they don't win the division. Let's say they come second or third. If you still shut them down, you're going to have the opportunity to take that money and go and add a major piece potentially at the deadline, which is going to help you, which is what the Tampa Bay Lightning did to win a Stanley Cup. You just know the Leafs won't do that, though. They just won't do it. Yeah.
I'm really I'm just looking at these standings right now, and I'm starting to get a little bit discouraged about where they're going this season, which is kind of silly to say because they are having a really great season, but the prospect of Matthews getting shut down and Anthony Stolarz not playing, and even though we talked about them having goaltending depth, it's clear that they don't have goaltending depth. I didn't expect them to have Vezina caliber goaltending the entire season. At some point, it was going to level out. It was just going to. And I just look at the standings, and right now, if the playoffs start, they're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning anyway, which if I wanted them to play any team, I'd want them to play the Lightning because that's the only team they've shown to have success against right now. But I think we're kind of headed to where we've been heading the past 7 years. I think ultimately that's going to be the destination. You're going to be looking at the Boston Bruins or the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. It's just, I don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit discouraged. They've been playing well. They've been playing really good hockey, but if Matthews is going to get shut down and their goaltending's not going to be elite, I just see them kind of slipping down a little bit, and I see Florida passing them. I see maybe Boston passing them. I don't want to be super negative, but I don't know. I just don't really see where the positivity is in terms of winning this division right now, in terms of where they're at with their injuries and everything going on.
They got to weather the storm.
Which I think they have. I think they have weathered the storm. But how long can you keep going? How long can you keep pushing when you don't have your number one goaltender and you don't have your number one center? Look at their center. Look Pontus Holmberg's playing in the top six right now, man. Like,
so this is where I wanted to take the conversation next. Like, what do you think about some of the different iterations of the lineup that we've seen from Berube since Matthews has gone down? I think it just highlights what we and every other person who covers this team continues to talk about. It's like they need another NHL caliber center. You cannot go put a lineup out there with fucking Pontus Holmberg as your number 2 center.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
And also Matthew Nyes has disappeared. Ever since Matthew Nyes got rocked in the neutral zone by White Cloud, or whatever his name is.
Justin Bourne on Friday night before the Red Wings game pointed that out, and he said if you look at his statistics since getting concussed, he's a completely different hockey player.
Yeah, and he's completely disappeared. So that's another guy who's disappeared. And I think Bobby McMahon's played really well. I think Max Pacioretty's played very well. I think Marner and Nylander continue to produce, but I look at Pontus Holmberg, just not like that's your top 6 right now. So I look at the division. I look at Pontus Holmberg playing second line center, and I go, this team's going to slip down the standings.
Yeah, well, they got to continue to play the way they were playing the first time Matthews was out, which was bought in and paying attention to the details and having Marner and Nylander be elite top 10 players in the National Hockey League. John Tavares as well. John Tavares has been excellent. And that's the recipe for success with Matthews injured. But at the end of the day, Pontus Holmberg is not good enough to be a second line centerman in the National Hockey League. And that is something that they, and for all intents and purposes, anyone who knows anything says they're working the phones. They're well aware of what they need heading into the trade deadline.
And another thing the broadcast points out constantly now, and we don't really talk about enough because I don't know why, is like Jacob Chychrun scored his 10th goal for the Washington Capitals the other night on the blue line. The Leafs have 7 goals combined by their D-man this season.
Yep.
Like that's also a huge factor for the depth scoring for this hockey team. It's
when I've ranted about Morgan Riley in the last few episodes, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like we need production from the blue line, and they don't get any like depth scoring. Like if you're going to sit and write down so far in this season what have been the biggest storylines, it's center depth, it's Auston Matthews injury, and it's depth scoring. And it was Anthony Stolarz before he got hurt. And getting production from your blue line falls in the depth scoring category. Like when do you ever see a defenseman from the blue line wire one home? Never. You never see that on this team ever.
No.
And so you're right. It's tough. It's tough when you don't get that sort of, but they don't have who back there. This is why I always hone in on Morgan Riley, because he has the most offensive upside of anyone back there. Who back there? They're all defensive guys. Like Chris Tanev, love him. He's a defensive defenseman. Same with Jake McCabe.
Yep.
Yeah. Simone Benoit. OEL's another guy who's really cooled off down the stretch here. Like OEL came out to start the season like he was shot out of a cannon. And he's another guy that's really sort of faded into being just a guy out there. Mm-hmm. Right. And this sort of thing happens in a long season. Like you're not going to be lights out and dominant all year long. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the reason why we're highlighting these things is because you look at the state of the Atlantic Division and it's like, holy shit, like here we are again. It's the same, like the Senators are in the mix too, but it's these same 4 teams and they're neck and neck once again. And you can't, like, losing a game in regulation at any point is going to cost you dearly in this division. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win.
And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Yeah, I wanted to bring one. There's something that I've been thinking about for about a week now, and I want your take on it. Is
Okay.
You're talking about shutting down Auston Matthews, and I just don't think that's going to happen. So
No, it's probably not.
what
It's
is
a
the
pipe dream.
scenario? What is your reaction when Auston Matthews comes back and plays in the Four Nations face-off and looks like a house on fire and looks like he hasn't been injured all year and the US go on to win the tournament? What's your reaction going to be when you see that? Because that's going to happen.
I think first of all, I think Nick Kyprios made a really good point on the pregame the other night about there is pressure from the league. Like, you have to remember, this is not like the Olympics, okay? This is an NHL funded, promoted tournament. So the league wants all the best guys playing to make this tournament because they want to continue to dip their toe in this and have more tournaments and other things of this nature. So I think he's going to have pressure from the league to play for Team USA. I also think he probably wants to play for Team USA. And listen, if he comes back and he looks good, that's fine. I'm not going to freak out about it. As you've said, we're sitting here right now at the end of the year because of the state they're in and because how they've looked in the last week and a half, where we're kind of like, we don't like how this looks. But overall, this season has been really good. This has been a very positive start to the Craig Berube tenure. But if he goes and he plays well in the Four Nations and then he comes back after and continues to play well for the Leafs, I'll be fine with it. If he goes and he plays for the Four Nations and then after he comes back, there's more janky, he's out here, he's out there. Then you're kind of like, well, what the fuck is going on? And listen, we won't be the only ones. The fans will be pissed off too.
I'm going to be so pissed off.
Yeah.
I for some reason, I just foresee this happening. It could not. He could just make an attempt to play and he doesn't. But if he goes there and he looks good and he starts scoring big goals and they end up winning that tournament and then he comes back and he's just not very good or he's injured again, like, I'm going to be really pissed off. I really am. I'm not going to be happy at all. I think it's just, and I just see it happening too. It's just staring me right in the face. And it's just, I really hope it doesn't happen because it's really going to piss me off.
So, I mean, we'll wait and see with that. That's still like, we're about to enter January. That's like early to mid Feb, that tournament. So we'll wait and see how that goes. But yeah, it's really, really interesting the place they're in right now. Like, I watched them last Monday against the Winnipeg Jets, and that was not good. Like, they got completely run out of the rink by the Winnipeg Jets. They come back, they play the Red Wings. The Red Wings are like in Buffalo Sabre territory with just how pathetic they looked at the moment. And then you've got a team that's like a contender in the East that just took advantage of you on Saturday night. So before we get out of here, I just want to do a quick, we don't need to go too long on this, but I just wanted to do a quick 2024 sort of retrospective with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you look back on the year, and we talked a lot about Auston Matthews in this episode. So you look back on, we'll start with him and then we'll talk about the team and the playoffs, changing the captaincy, the coaching change, what have you. But it's let's start with Auston Matthews. You look at, it's really interesting, his 2024, because he chased 70 goals in 2024. And down the stretch last year, that was one of the bigger storylines with the team. And it was the best he's ever looked in his career in terms of dominance and in terms of just putting himself in the conversation as a top 5 hockey player in the world. But then they go into the playoffs against the Bruins. They win the games that he's not in. And then he comes back in game 7 and they lose.
Yep.
And then this year, he's been injured most of the season. I think a huge storyline for me, we've talked about it, everybody's talked about it. Mitch Marner, I like Mitch Marner so much more when he's not playing with Auston Matthews. He is so much more dominant and effective when he's not playing with Auston Matthews. And it's just created this kind of weird dynamic. And it's been an interesting 2024 for him. You know, they gave him the captaincy, and it turned, for all intents and purposes, because John Tavares has been such a beauty about it, and it's ultimately helped his game, in my opinion. That transition went pretty smoothly. But in terms of 2024 as a whole, it's been an interesting up and down year for Auston Matthews.
Yeah, I think Auston Matthews has. I mean, I don't know about the people who aren't in this market and don't watch him every night. I'd love to hear like the perception of Matthews from someone who's just a fan of a Western Conference team who doesn't get to watch the Leafs very often. I would love to hear their perspective of him, because I think about Auston Matthews' career, and he's such an elite player. And if he stays healthy, he's going to score 600, 700 goals in this league. He's one of the most incredible goal scorers this league has ever seen, but it's just, there's something about him that just does not come up big in big moments. He just doesn't. That's what 2024 is for Matthews. It's like he hit that incredible season and he was chasing it all year, and it got a little goofy at the end where everyone was just kind of selling out to get him that goal. But then you go into that series after that amazing year, you don't play, the team wins, you come back and you don't win. You don't score a big goal. You don't cement yourself as a playoff performer, a guy who can score a big goal at a big time, or just change the trajectory of the way a game's going. It's just, if you look at his career so far, it's just a lot of goal scoring and a lot of coming up short in big moments. That's what his NHL career's been to me. It's like, he's an incredible goal scorer, one of the best we've ever seen, but when it comes to time for him to kind of have that Jonathan Taves, Patrick Kane, Sidney Crosby type moment.
Connor McDavid, like, you know the player, Matthew Tkachuk at this point, like, the players I'm speaking of, he just can't, he hasn't been able to do that yet. And he's not 30, but he's not 21 anymore. Yeah. And you're looking at this season, the season's a throwaway. Like, he probably won't score 40 goals this year. This is going to hurt his chase to 600, 700 goals later in his career. But I think 2024 is kind of what his career has been as a whole, where it's just, he scores a lot of goals. He's a really good player, but he just he hasn't cemented himself as a big game hockey player yet. And I think that's what 2024 was for him. Obviously, another huge storyline for 2024, the coaching change. You and I were very vocal. We thought this was 1 year overdue, and ended up working out because they were able to get a guy like Berube. I think it's been a really great start to the Craig Berube era. I think all you got to do is watch him. He knows what this team's issues are, and it's that they can kind of take their foot off the gas and like lose sight of the details, which is something I don't think Sheldon Keefe really harped on them about until it was too late during his tenure. But the coaching change is interesting. It's frustrating because they held on to Keefe 1 year too long. Some people would say a couple years too long after blowing the series to the Montreal Canadiens in the bubble. But it's interesting. And at the end of the day, it's worked out well for them, but
remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. Yeah, remains to be seen. It's true.
I don't think anybody who still thinks Keefe should be the coach of the Leafs, I don't really get it. I don't think there's anybody out there who thinks that. I knew Sheldon Keefe had the potential to be a great coach. Look what he's doing in New Jersey right now. They look really good. They got games at hand, or they've played a couple more games in the Capitals, so they're in first, but they're humming along. I always thought he was could be a good coach, and he's proving that right now with the Devils. But yeah, it was time for him to go, and I think it's still. Let's see what happens when Craig Berube will be judged in April. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. And then one thing I wanted to touch on too is I really thought in 2024, William Nylander emerged as an elite. He's always was an elite player from a talent and goal scoring perspective, but I genuinely believe that, and I know you do as well, that of all their superstars, and I would include Marner in this, none of them have the ability to take a game over the way William Nylander is able to. When William Nylander decides I'm taking it over here, he can. And it's very, very hard to stop him.
Yeah, for a guy who came in, who was drafted with elite skill, and this guy drove me up the fucking wall the first couple seasons he was playing with the team. I thought he was basically just a way better version of Nick Robertson in a way. It's just, there was no physicality.
I used to compare him to, Ryan, I used to compare him to Phil Kessel.
Yeah, like, and he wasn't putting up elite numbers, in fairness. Like, it's not like he was putting up elite numbers. He just showed the ability to be able to put the puck in the net. And have you seen a guy with elite skill come in this league just get better, like just incrementally better every single season? Like, it's just like every single year he's gotten better, and you're totally right. He's just hit that next level. He got his big payday, and I think he's doing everything he can with it. I think he's been really good. I totally agree with that take.
Just doing one more look over Twitter here, and at this point, there has not been an announcement of Auston Matthews if he will play on Tuesday against the New York Islanders. I'm guessing he will not. It's another afternoon start, another 1 o'clock.
This is a big 2 games for them, man. Like they're playing a team where the coach is apologizing to fans at a practice about the team's play.
Yes.
And they've already lost to this team 6-3 about a week ago. And they're doing a home and home. This is 4 points, boys. Like, come
home
on.
and home. And Ryan, I know you got Saturday night circled.
Yeah, they're playing the Bruins. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bruins, and then another back-to-back. So, like, we're talking earlier about Matt Murray, like he's playing that Sunday game against the Philadelphia Flyers, like another back-to-back. Man, it's insane. It's too much, and I understand they're doing all this to try and get the 4 nations in because they need that time. But this is insane. The amount of back-to-backs this team plays.
Well, you know how you solve this problem, Rob?
How?
Stop fucking playing 82 games a season. Like,
that's a whole other
ridiculous.
Podcast. Just to talk about the logistics of the National Hockey League is a whole other podcast.
We could do an hour on that. That is, it's ridiculous. Yeah, they threw it. Kiprios threw it up the other night. They play 16 back-to-backs. Yeah, that's insane, man. Like,
that is insane.
Like 4 times this week, and they don't have great goaltending. Their star players injured. They're like they're in a good spot.
They got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Got their work cut out for them.
They're playing a mediocre to bad hockey team. And to me, it's 4 points. But I think we know whenever the Leafs play the Islanders, it's never that simple, no matter who's on the roster. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, buddy, we're going to get out of here. This is our last episode of 2024. I just want to take a minute to say thank you so much to everyone who subscribed to the channel this year, who comments, gives us feedback. Same thing with all the audio version. Our audio numbers, to me, that's the story. Our YouTube channel continues to grow, and we love our YouTube channel. It's our bread and butter. We put a lot of time and heart into it. But our audio numbers really jumped to the next level in 2024, and we just want to say a huge thank you for that. This is something that Ryan and I like doing together. It's a way for us to spend time together. It's fun. We love the team. It doesn't feel like work, and that's because of the amazing support that we get from you guys. So thank you very much for that. We're going to be continuing our 2 times a week schedule throughout 2025. We're going to be doing episodes all throughout the 4 nations. So if you want to join us for that, hit that like and subscribe button below. If you're listening to the audio version, do the same thing.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We will see you guys in 2025.